Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Test my test.
Yo, welcome back to Mr. Money TV live on Thursday night, and this is Mr. Money Peter.
Yo, good evening, everybody. Nice to see you guys again. Frankie here.
All right, fantastic. It's good to see you guys. If you can hear us loud and clear, please type 1 in the comment. Now, today I hope it's gonna be an exciting episode, right? Because we'll be talking about how high can Bitcoin be. Yeah. How high can Bitcoin be?
I notice every time we do Bitcoin content, right? There's a very big reaction in the cryptocurrency market one.
Oh, really? Let's hope that tonight we'll see some big
movement also.
big movement, is it? Yeah. Okay. Let's start with this thing. What's the price of Bitcoin right now?
It's 64,000.
Yeah.
More than 64,000.
Finally, it crossed 64,000. 64.373.4. Now, what happened is that it is slowly climbing up right now, back to hopefully above 70 soon.
Yep.
What we are seeing is it is not as choppy as before suddenly. Do you notice? Ever since, if you can actually take a look at the graph, right? Ever since the rate cut, it doesn't look as choppy.
Meaning it's a very smooth way up.
Yes. So if you look at the graph here, I know we can't show the graph on screen, but if you guys can go into your own screen and take a look at it, you will notice that previously whenever it bounced up, it was a very sharp up.
And then come back down again.
And then when it goes down, it's a very sharp down.
Yep.
This time around, it's more of a slow climb. Do you notice?
More gradual.
More gradual.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all this tells something in a technical chart, right? So, I mean, in a way, you can kind of say that very fluctuating kind of style is because there are more speculators involved. Yeah, they just want to all in suddenly to catch the wave. But now there is more doubts. Right? So because there's no doubt, people are buying it more gradual. It means that in a way, people are holding slightly longer term. Yeah. Now, but again, this is from someone who's not an expert in technical charts. So take it as talking nonsense. Yeah. You can consider it as more intuitive kind of talk rather than really true, just how I feel, right? Yeah.
How do you guys feel about the
investment advice?
Yeah. How do you guys feel about the market? You all can also put into the comment, and then we can have a better discussion that way, more interactive.
Yeah. Let's start with this thing, right? Why don't you guys tell us what do you think Bitcoin price is gonna be by next year June, 1 year, or in the next year end, right? 1 year from now. Yeah. Why not you guys write that amount in the chat? Now, before we start, I just want to take this moment to share with everyone on this coming Saturday. We will be having a webinar, and that webinar will be about maximizing your insurance. Now, we all know that investment is definitely a must-have, but when it comes to protecting yourself, insurance is one of those areas, one of those financial products that we don't like to talk about, but it's highly necessary. So in this Saturday, I'll be talking about that subject, sharing with you guys how to maximize your insurance. All right. Now, if you want to join that webinar, do scan the code up on this corner, up on this corner, or either you can check the link in the comments there. All right. Now, right now,
Yes.
how was your week? Let's start with this.
Week is always full of meetings, full of a lot of things to
Mm.
do, but it's also very fulfilling, right? We can create more content to our audience. When the market is up, it also keeps us very excited. Sometimes moments like this, right, give us more inspiration to create more content also.
So yesterday you had an event. Can you share with us a
Yes.
little bit about the event?
Okay, so yesterday I was at I was moderating an event at Affin Hwang Investment Bank, right? If you guys watch FAQ show, I interviewed 3 guests. And Peter, you also interviewed one of the guests from Affin Hwang Investment Bank, who is Kelvin. Kelvin is the head of derivatives
Yep.
there, right? Okay. So in the moderating session, I interviewed these 4 guests, esteemed guests, and they are very experienced in futures trading. So we talk about how US election is going to impact the market and how, as a futures trader, they are going to position themselves, how they manage their risks and things like that. So for those who attended the what do you call it, the session yesterday, I hope you guys enjoyed the show, right? We have very good feedback there as well. But if you didn't, don't worry. You can also watch back those 4 episodes that we have created. They are all on FAQ Show and Mr. Money TV. It's more or less kind of similar kind of content there to talk about how the market is going to move towards the end of the year.
Fantastic. Now, for me, yesterday also I had an event where
Yeah.
I talked about career change. So it kind of refreshed my memory on how I had these 2 career shifts in my life. Where the first one, I went into financial planning, where it gave me the foundation of explaining financial stuff. And today, building Mr. Money at about 32 years old, I make another shift and I built Mr. Money TV. And that's where we are today. Now, but with all that, let us cut to the chase, right? And go straight into the topic of today. Bitcoin. I think we can't help but to start talking about where is this gonna go.
Yeah.
Now, there are a few macro environments that is happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is very meaningful and very interesting. We're gonna talk a little bit about rate cuts. We're gonna talk a little bit about the history of Bitcoin and where do we think the future of Bitcoin will be headed to. No, but before that, I want to start with this. Today, I had one of the most interesting meetings over this past 1 week.
Oh, what meeting is that?
I had a meeting with Bitcoin Malaysia Conference, the first Malaysia Bitcoin Conference organizers. Now, it's really interesting. I was telling them this. I say that over the years, right, in Malaysia, we have so many conferences about cryptocurrencies, from NFTs, Web3, whatever not, right? But Bitcoin now only come out. Isn't it like, why you all don't do it earlier? You all are like that,
too slow.
Yeah, so slow, right? Yeah, and for those of you who do not know, in Mr. Money TV, we try not to associate too much with crypto ever since the last round, because what we felt was that as much as due diligence we can do, generally it is still quite hard to actually avoid to a certain extent things that are not great, right? So, and we kind of felt that like, hey, after that few incidents, although we did not make our audience get scammed, right? But those companies end of the day got a bad rap because they didn't perform very well, stuff like that. And Celsius was one of them, right? Yeah. So all these bad memories, right? And I thought to myself, like, you know what? I don't really want to be too associated. I may be trading in it and stuff like that, but I don't want to talk about it on my channel, except Bitcoin. And those few big ones like Ethereum, Solana, like that, right? It's just simply because I want to be safe. I don't want one day get quoted and they say that, oh, Mr. Money TV promoted these kind of scamish things, right? I want to be very, very careful with that, right? So I told them that when Bitcoin conference come out, I'm really excited. You are like very late, right? Why you come out right now? And the people that I talked to, right, have been in Bitcoin since 2012.
Oh, at the early stage.
Early days. So there's this one guy called Colbert. He told me that in the earlier days when he first thought about Bitcoin, when he started understanding it, he was one of the earlier guys who went to Bank Negara and the SC to ask them like, why not you all take a look at the white paper, maybe come up with a framework to regulate and promote this industry in Malaysia like that. And so I asked him this question, right? That time what they thought about you. Yeah, obviously they thought you were crazy, right? Like what on earth, these weird people, not even from finance,
Right.
talk about this kind of weird things, magical internet money, or this child play, right? And how does thing turn one whole round? And today we are talking about Bitcoin as a potential reserve for countries,
Mm.
and it's already a reserve for El Salvador,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
Yeah. So how things has changed, right? The Bitcoin evolution to a certain extent, we see how it moved from the early days when I myself, I still recall in 2018, 2019, in the early of 2019, I was still very skeptical of Bitcoin. When people tell me about Bitcoin, I say it's a magical internet money. Don't tell me this kind of nonsense. Somehow I was an RFP, right? So all the more like
Correct.
nonsense.
Yeah.
Eventually it will die, stuff like
Mm.
that kind, right? Then until I still remember that time when I was in Common Ground, I met one guy and he told me this. He told me how much money he has in Bitcoin and how he made his money. So
Oh,
this guy is a semi-retired guy
right.
because in the early days of crypto, he started trading in Bitcoin. He had an e-commerce company that sells things and receive money in Bitcoin.
Oh,
So
wow.
he told me now his life, he's semi-retired.
Okay.
A couple of millions is like that to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And because imagine during that period of time, Bitcoin already went up by 500 times. 500 times. Yeah.
I cannot imagine.
Yeah, I cannot imagine. So he
Yeah.
told me that he's just enjoying his life right now. He's just doing a small business just for fun, so renting this place. And that got me more interested in this.
Mm.
And that's why after that I started investing regularly, like 200, 300, 400, like that.
Mm.
Yeah, so that was how I got to know Bitcoin. What about yourself?
Okay. So if you as a RFP already have that kind of skepticism in the early days, right? So what about an investment banker where everything is about fiat currency, right? So to a certain extent today when I talk to all these investment banker, they still have that mindset. This is a scam, it is not going to last. It is just for people who want to trade something that is not physical, cannot feel, that kind of narrative. But what changed me was when we started working together, and then we had this campaign with a cryptocurrency company from Singapore, right? Then they were explaining to us how it works and all that, and then it triggered me and said, "Wow, by just putting money in that project, and then it is able to solve mathematical formula and all that, and then it generates rewards, and all these rewards is in the high double digit of return." So when you calculate the math, right? Yes, it could be a scam. I don't know, right? And this is a non-regulated asset, but the return that they provide, like high double digits, sometimes can go over 100%, right? It's a risk to reward kind of calculation. If the reward is high enough to cover the risk, then perhaps it is worth at least to take a look at it. So that's where I started to dabble a little bit into it, buy a little bit into cryptocurrencies, understand more about how it works and all that. Okay, so the thing about investment, right, is that once you have your own money put into it, it motivates you to go and study about the asset one.
That's right.
So that's where I jump into the rabbit hole, go deeper and all that. And then today I have quite a big portion of my portfolio is in cryptocurrency.
Yeah. I remember in the early days when I told you about Bitcoin, you were like, don't talk about Bitcoin.
Yeah. I don't even look at it.
you were more about like, even when the early days when you started investing in crypto, for you it was more about trading to get returns. I still remember. Then only later, halfway through, when you got into it more, then suddenly now it became Bitcoin already.
Yeah. No, because one of the mindset is that, yes, you buy Bitcoin, you buy all these cryptocurrencies and all that, it is going to give you some sort of return. But if you are already familiar with the traditional assets that you have been investing in, then that should be enough to compensate the opportunity cost that you didn't invest in cryptocurrency. So that was my mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then now think back is like, hey, it's just another asset for you to diversify, Why not?
How things have turned, right?
How things have turned in just 4 years.
Yeah. Anyway, now, so Bitcoin has gone through a winter, and the winter has been about 2 years right now. Yeah, and now we have recovered up to the previous level,
The previous
more
high.
or less at the previous high level, which at the previous high was about 73,
73,
somewhere around there. So then after that, it hit that number, it came back down again, and then people are wondering, like, is this how high Bitcoin can go? Now, I just want to highlight a few significant events that has been happening recently. Number one, FOMC. right? Yeah, where it announced that interest rate is going down, right? And this time round, Jerome Powell actually announced a quite rather aggressive rate cut.
Yeah, 50 basis point. When everyone thought he's just going to do 25 basis point.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And what we are seeing there is that economic is slowing down already. Yeah. And actually, honestly, recently I've been to quite a few places like Pavilion and so on. I noticed that even weekend there are lesser people going out.
Oh,
Yeah. Slightly lesser.
alright.
Like
So,
not as packed. The day I went
okay.
1U on Saturday. Not that
Yeah.
many people.
Whoa, so people feel the pinch already. lah.
I think people are starting to feel the pinch already.
Mm.
Now, here's the best part. On 23rd of September,
Mm.
yeah, at least the article that I'm reading by CNBC, China Central Bank has released a slate of support measure
Mm.
for their economic slump. Now,
It's about time lah for them.
right? Yeah, so
Yeah.
China has been denying that their
Their
economy
economy
is
is
not good.
slowing. Yeah.
Now, but what happened this time round? What they did is that they cut the amount of the cash that bank need to have
Mm.
in order. The basic is what they call a reserve requirement ratio lah.
Yep.
Now, which means it determines how much of loan you can give out.
Yep.
Now, and they cut that. It means that it's gonna be easier to get loan, and they will give out more loan.
Yep. That means more money is going to come to the market and flood the market. Yeah.
Two of the biggest country,
Mm.
the biggest economy, are cutting interest rate.
Yes.
Yeah.
The number 1 and number 2 top economies in the world, they are putting more money into the system.
Now, at the same time, it is very interesting because you are not seeing that same volatility hype per se, but everyone suddenly is very scared.
Mm.
Do you notice? The
Scared-
market,
scared in what sense?
the
Come.
market, people are a little bit fearful. Do you notice that? Like
I
it is
didn't,
not flying as what we expect.
Okay.
Do you get what I mean? Like
Uh-huh.
previously, when it wasn't cutting, everyone estimating the cut that time,
Mm.
everyone was like, wow, buy. Now suddenly you don't have, Do you
Right,
notice?
right. For the US ad market, like, especially.
Right?
Mm.
Yeah, and then people are starting to say that, hey, recession is coming, right?
Mm.
Yeah. And what does Warren Buffett say? When people are fearful,
Be
you become
greedy.
greedy. Yeah.
Yes.
And this is what you notice, right? Like this is how the media is. When the sentiment of the market is, oh, I think things are gonna change, then you see it keep dipping down. When now suddenly the sentiment is like that. Will it dip? I do not know lah. I'm not predicting lah. Huh?
Mm.
But what am I saying is that people are starting to feel it. And when people are starting to feel it, then real money is gonna start flooding. And all this is just within this month.
Yes.
1 to 2 weeks has passed. A
Yes.
few days ago before Bank of China.
Mm.
Now, do understand this one thing. It will take at least a couple of months before people really feel the pinch, before loans started happening.
Mm.
So money is only going to flood the market in a couple of months. Time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And whatever that needs to be priced in was already priced in during that previous volatility when it hit about 50, whoever were estimating the real price cut and really want to play a long term would have been accumulating during that period of time. Those who want to trade and play around with it would have played during that time. Now, so right now what we are seeing is, like we have said, is some sort of a little consolidation that we are seeing
Mm.
now. And the interesting part is this, right? BlackRock recently came out with a report
Mhm.
on Bitcoin.
Coming from BlackRock, the person who say that Bitcoin is a scam.
That's right. The guy who, if you actually look through, when he says that Bitcoin is a scam, I will fire anyone in my organization who dabbles with Bitcoin. And both of the big players, right, who often say that. If you track the records, you will realize that whenever they say that, the market dips, their organization in different parts of the world will snap it up.
Mm.
Yeah. So, and right now they are promoting it to their client, and this is the interesting title.
Mm.
Okay. The title is Bitcoin, a unique diversifier. They are saying Bitcoin, a risk-on asset you may want to think again. Oui?
Oh. Of course lah. Today they are the largest ETF in the world, man.
So, what are your thoughts about this? And then we're gonna dive into the report so that we can talk about all the points there.
Yeah. So all these fund managers, right? Because number one, you have to understand that one of the revenue stream for all these people is that they would charge a management fee for managing the funds, right? So IBIT or EBIT is one of the many funds that they manage. And today, this IBIT has become one of the largest Bitcoin spot ETF in the world. Meaning to say, if you talk about management fee on funds alone, they are possibly one of the largest fee generator for this asset class. So when you are sitting on a a goose that lays golden egg like this, right? Then it makes sense for BlackRock to keep promoting these kind of products. So partially, I think this kind of reports and whatnot is a marketing piece to actually send a message to the market and say that, hey, you know, these things, because I'm the largest, and probably now is a good time for you to look at it so that I can continue to generate more fees. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it's very realistic, lah. I'll just put it this way, right? I was just having a joke with Frankie earlier, right? It's quite interesting to see how they come together and work with this to actually say that, like, hey, you know, these are a scam, you know, but at the back they're actually building a whole infrastructure to sell you that scam. And once they have the infrastructure ready, they tell you that this is the best asset in the world. There's no mercy, you know, in that sense, right? Yeah. No, if you are their client and you would have sold it earlier and now you buy back from them, they're not gonna say sorry to you. Yeah. No, let's go into it. How high can Bitcoin be? In this paper, they kind of try to predict it in a hinting manner, lah, just to share with you guys.
Oh, so there's no number one.
Yes, but there are 4 key points here that they talk about. Number one, right? They are saying that is a non-traditional asset, but I'll just highlight the ones that is important. Number one, they are saying that if you think that Bitcoin is high risk, it is true that the price fluctuates, but the risk of Bitcoin, it is very different from traditional assets. What do they mean, right? It is not like traditional asset where, for example, the risk of stock will be tied up together with the interest rate. Does it make sense?
Makes
right?
sense.
If an interest rate is bad, then stuff like that. If they have less confidence in your bond, your country also will go haywire. Your stock market go off because your factory is in that country. That kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
But Bitcoin, on the other hand, the things that affected the risk of Bitcoin has nothing to do with all this.
It's merely supply and demand, I suppose.
So that's what they're trying to say, lah.
Right.
The next thing
So that's
is
reading in between the lines.
then they did explain further.
Okay.
Later we'll share a bit, right? The next thing that I want to talk about is the nature of Bitcoin. The nature of Bitcoin is that it is independent. It has no it is non-censored, right? So what it means is that Bitcoin's unique ability that doesn't belong to any government. So if let's say tomorrow country A and country B go to war, right? You can never say that the asset in this country is useless. I mean, for example, let's give a very wild example, right? I am pretty sure the very long time ago, Iraq had their own version of REITs or stock market to a certain extent, right? But does it matter today?
No.
Does it matter that you own a lot of land in Iraq?
No.
It doesn't matter, right?
Right.
And those are sovereign based, those are location based. Now, but what happened is, say when Russia and Ukraine went to war, Bitcoin became a very important asset. Why? Because you can't
to move
censor
things
it.
around. Yeah.
You can move things around. And that is the mindset of many Bitcoin owners. Because tomorrow, if you were to sell your Malaysian asset, you have 3 million in your bank account, you want to move it to Australia, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. You will go through a lot of problems. Yeah.
Not problems, but there are a lot of documents you need to sign. Yeah.
Go through a lot of
KYC,
questions.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And number two, they are talking about the cap of Bitcoin at 21 million units. And there's always this saying that goes that there are more Bitcoin, there are more millionaires than Bitcoin. Yeah, in this world, right? So that's what they are trying to talk about, right? No, and so what happened is that it is one of the very few things that's gonna be inflation proof.
So inflation proof is the key word lah.
Yeah.
Sounds very much like
Or
gold.
deflationary lah.
Okay.
That will be inflation proof will not be in a way, right? Deflationary will be better technical term, and that's the nature of Bitcoin, right? Yeah, and then it's first truly open access, which means that yeah, like we say, no censure, that kind of things. Now, here's the interesting part that I want to say. Do you know that the art market is actually bigger than Bitcoin market?
The art market.
Yeah,
Mm.
fine art, or art,
Yeah.
art as a
Yeah,
whole.
yeah, painting and that kind of stuff, sculpture.
Yeah, it's actually bigger than Bitcoin's value to a certain extent.
Right.
Right.
Because you can call any price, right?
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
Right.
So if you think about it in that sense, right? If today you are someone who wants to store your wealth, would you store it in a Monet or would you store it on a Bitcoin?
I don't know how to appreciate fine art, so Bitcoin makes more sense for me lah.
Okay, this is
Because
the
it's
argument
number,
to make.
yeah.
Argument to make.
Mm.
So another one thing to actually look at it, right? Yeah. They also showed a long-term performance chart of Bitcoin from 2010 all the way until today. Now, in 2010, Bitcoin was less than 10 cents US, and then by 2011 it rise up to close to more than $10. So it went up by close to 600 times.
Mm.
Then after that it dropped back down by 93%. Then after that later it went back up again in 2013. This time it went up from the lowest to highest, crossed 1,000.
1,000%.
Crossed 1,000 USD.
Oh, okay, 1,000 USD.
So from
okay.
less than 10 or about 10 over dollars went
Mhm.
to 1,000 USD.
Wow.
So
Okay.
that's 500 over times.
Mhm.
The next one was 100 times, which
Mhm.
was between 2015 up to about 2018. Yeah. Then the next jump was between 2019 all the way up to about 2022. That period was 21 times.
Mm.
Now, so what we can see is that the jumping up
Mm.
is slower.
Yep.
Yeah, it
Yep.
went from 592 times to 555 times to 104 times to 21 times. So the question is,
Yep.
how many times do you
Makes
expect?
a lot of sense. It's gonna be smaller and smaller.
Yep.
Right, because at the beginning of the asset, right, because nobody knows about it, so it becomes super risky, right, and you don't know what is the future lies on this asset. So high risk, high return. But as it matures, the keyword here is mature. More and more people understand it, so more and more people are involved in it. So the pricing becomes more efficient. So that's why in stock market, you will never see one day the stock market go up by 10 times, 20 times because it is a mature asset. People know how to price it. So therefore, it will end up with a range of movement. Yeah. So when will Bitcoin reach that normal movement? I don't know, maybe 10 years, 20 years from now. But one thing for sure is that this jump of 100 times, 500 times, I don't think you will be able to see it anymore unless there's a very drastic change in the world politics or the world economy.
Yeah. So how many times do you think that it might be this time round?
For me,
again,
I think
it's not a prediction.
correct.
Yeah, we are just randomly saying.
Okay, for me, 10 times is good enough already. But 10 times is not small, no. Now it's 64,000. 10 times is 640,000. That's a very big jump.
My personal thought at this point, I would say within next year right? We're talking about within next year.
Yep.
I'm not saying it's a prediction, but I won't be surprised. Okay, maybe I should say two things. I won't be surprised that it goes down, but I also won't be surprised that it go above or around 150. Yeah, but I won't be surprised that it go down as well. So yeah, I'm not predicting anything. I'm just saying that there's always a chance that it can hit about 150. It can also have a chance of going down to 40. Yeah. That's my point now.
Well, does the graph show when it falls how many times it falls or not? So the first one was 93% ma.
Second round was 84.
Okay.
Third round 83. This round 77% drop.
So same as the asset mature, the drop is also not that drastic anymore.
That's right.
Yeah, so it will come to a point where one day you will see Bitcoin maximum drop 7%. It will become headline already.
Now, so why I say this morning's meeting with them was very interesting. These people have been investing in Bitcoin since 2012.
Right.
When Bitcoin price at the lowest, if they started investing, was because at 2012 is not when they started investing. I'm so sorry.
Mm.
They had the first Bitcoin meet up in Malaysia and associations in Malaysia and go and meet SC at 2012.
Oh, means they would have bought it earlier than 2012
That's
already.
right. When Bitcoin was about in between 10 cents up to less than $10. If
Wow.
only they have 1,000 Bitcoin accumulated.
Wow.
Today, we
Hmm.
are talking about close to 100 million USD.
Hmm.
So today when I was talking to those people, I was thinking to myself, these guys are not big figure multi-millionaires. So I told them this. I wish I would have received your call earlier.
No, but the thing is this, right? Even if you received the call in 2012, would you be so confident to buy so many Bitcoin? So that's another question,
That's
right?
nothing.
Yeah.
If you think about it, right? If you're rich enough during that time, you may say, I take out $1,000 and buy 1,000 unit or just for fun. No?
Yeah, just for fun.
Right. But are you rich enough at the point? I don't think I have. Maybe I would have bought $100.
Also
Okay,
good enough.
So it's still
Yeah.
still the same question.
Yeah,
Still the
yeah.
same question. No. Now, although we have already talked a lot about like last time in the past, right? They say last time in the past, Bitcoin exhibited very low correlation with US equities.
Mhm.
But what are your thoughts now? Do you think this will remain or not?
No, you are already seeing some correlation between the mainstream asset and also Bitcoin. Like for example, right, yesterday, US stock market actually took some profit because it performed very well, right? Jerome Powell lowered the interest rate, everyone got excited, people jump into shares. So the stock market has been going up for a few days, people start to take profit. Now, this has got nothing to do with Bitcoin, but somehow Bitcoin also dropped because the US market dropped. Yeah, so I start to see correlation over there.
Yeah. I think eventually there will be quite some correlation. Yeah. Why do I think that is because the correlation or not all comes down to investor behavior, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter whether you're investing in a cup or investing in gold, As long as it's the same person, right, you'll behave the same way. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Right? So what happened is that as Bitcoin gains mass adoption, the investor are starting to be that group of people. So therefore, they will have a more common interpretation.
Yep.
And that will affect
Yep.
the thing.
Yeah, but one thing I want to point out, right? Looking at the charts and everything right now, I don't think people perceive Bitcoin as digital gold, but rather they see Bitcoin as a digital stock.
In a way.
That's why the correlation is more correlated to stocks rather than gold.
Okay. I want to share with you. Okay, this one I'll wait till the end.
Okay.
But I think there's another wave of money making opportunity in Bitcoin. But stay till the end, okay? Yeah.
Okay.
And for those of you who are interested to join the Bitcoin Malaysia conference, please go and check out. I think maybe we can put up a link there. I'm not sure if they have the link. I'll send it to you guys shortly. Then you guys can put it in the comment. And what happened is that they have given me a 50% discount code for our audience.
All right.
So it's a paid event. It is not a free event, mind you. So it means that when you're going to go there, you're really going to get to know people. It is not random. Yeah, it is people, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to share with you why I think you should go, right? Yeah. So
this is a Bitcoin conference. They're only going to talk about Bitcoin only. Or are they going to talk about like Web3 lah, projects lah, and stuff like that?
So this one, we're going to talk about it in a short while.
Okay.
By the way, for those of you who are students and you want to be a volunteer, please, you can also sign up to be a volunteer. Yeah, then you get a free pass. So it's going to be on the 3rd of October. All right? Yeah, it's going to be on the
next
3rd
week.
of October. So I'm going to put up 2 links there. Yeah, I'm going to put up 2 links there. So while I'm sending the link, maybe Frankie, you want to share with us a little bit. What do you think? Moving ahead that we should pay attention to as we invest in Bitcoin or as we don't invest in Bitcoin?
Okay. So what you need to look out for, right? Number one, obviously, is what is the U.S. government is doing right now. Right. So number one, when we talk about U.S. government, the biggest event that is going to happen there would be the election that's going to happen in November, right? And it is very clear that Donald Trump is very pro cryptocurrency at this point. He already mentioned that if he wins, he may consider using Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. Now, what does that mean is that a strategic reserve in the government perspective is that whenever the country runs into a crisis, they can unlock strategic assets to fund the operation of the country and economy. So if Bitcoin is going to be a strategic reserve for a country, right? Meaning they would need to they would need to buy quite a substantial amount that makes sense for the government and put it into a cold wallet. So just imagine an economy like the US, just how many Bitcoin they need to buy to call it a strategic reserve. So that's point number one. Number two is that even if Donald Trump doesn't win and Harris won, right? If that's the case, right? She's also an advocate of high tech AI stuff like that, which is very correlated to Web3 and stuff like that. So while it may not be so direct as putting Bitcoin as a strategic reserve and whatnot, but I think it will still help in the development of this industry. So I think net, no matter no matter who wins the election, it is still a net positive to the entire cryptocurrency scene. That's number one. Number two is the central bank law. Interest rate definitely is going to impact the money supply in the market. We have already seen US lowering down the interest rate, so more money is going to come out. China also lower down the RRR, the what ratio? The reserve ratio, meaning banks is able to loan out more money to the market, means more money supply is going to come out. So the two biggest economy come out with more money. Where do these money go? It needs to go to assets, right? It needs to be invested, right? So for sure, some of this money will flow into cryptocurrencies, one.
That's right.
So that is another area that we need to look at.
That's right.
So that is the two key things that we need to be aware of.
Yeah, and I think another thing that people have to be aware is that as more and more geopolitical tensions happening, people will also look for a safe haven that is not censured by government.
Yeah.
So there's the other gray side of things, right? That's really, really happening, right? Now, I want to highlight one thing that was pretty interesting in this report under BlackRock. They show the comparison between the performance of S&P 500, gold, and Bitcoin through major geopolitical event, right? They compare the 10 days later return and the 60 days later return after an event. So what happens is that after US and Iran escalation in 2020, the S&P 500 went up by 2% immediately 10 days later, right? But 60 days later, it went down by 7%. Okay, gold, no change. 60 days later, gold changed by 6%, go up. Bitcoin, on the other hand, after US-Iran escalation, 10 days later, it went up by 12%. 60 days later, it went up by 20%. So what they are trying to do is that they are trying to tie in why does geopolitical censure drive adoption of Bitcoin? Yeah. So next thing is COVID outbreak in 2020. Okay, 10 days later, S&P 500 dropped by 20%, but 60 days later, it went up by 2%. 10 days later for gold, after COVID outbreak, was negative 9%, and 60 days later is positive 3%. Okay, Bitcoin, on the other hand, at the moment there was COVID, negative 25% after 10 days, but 60 days later, 21% up. 2020 US election. I'll just go to Bitcoin one, easier lah. Bitcoin went up by 19% after 10 days, and 60 days later 131%. Russia invasion of Ukraine, first 10 days dropped by 6%, 60 days later up by 15%. Banking crisis up by 25% the first 10 days, 60 days later up by 32%. What they are trying to show you here is somewhere or another, whenever there's a crisis, what you are seeing is that Bitcoin will slowly go up. Yeah. So it seems like now they are trying to highlight that when there's issue, it will go up lah. But in my opinion, it is also not really fair.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because you have the halving event, you have all other factors that will push the price up.
Correct. My point is that I think Bitcoin is just memang going up, regardless of whether it's that event or not.
Right?
But I think number two, there is a certain drive that whenever there's a geopolitical event, censure tend to happen. People need to move things around. Yeah, and moving things around the time, I think when it comes to grey money or black money, yes, it tends to go there.
Yep.
Yeah, because you can't help. I'm not saying that Bitcoin is not used by criminal or used by criminal. I think, let's put it up front. Criminal uses USD as well. Yeah, especially cash. Yeah, remember how many times that we have seen stories coming out where drug dealers' house is full of cash?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so please don't think that like, Bitcoin is illegal because it's used by criminals. USD also used by illegals, okay? Let's just put it that way. Yeah, it's same thing, man. Yeah. No, but the point that I want to make is this. There is starting to have more and more adoption on cryptocurrency, whether you like it or not. Yeah.
I think one more thing is that as technology advances and there are more easier ways for people to get hold of Bitcoin, right, compared to let's say 2012 or even earlier. I think for people who are early adopters during that period of time, you need to somewhat know a little bit of programming for you to get access to the cryptocurrency. Yes. So that would limit adoption. Because you need to, like, maybe you have a diploma in IT, then you know how to get access to it. But today it's just so easy, right? You have platforms like Luno, platforms like Tokenize and that kind of stuff, where you can just buy Bitcoin like how you buy stocks. So it's very easy access today. So therefore, that also accelerated the adoption of cryptocurrency.
Yeah. So now I want to highlight last two things that I believe is driving Bitcoin adoption even further. But it also means that the future volatility is going to be lesser, right? Which means that you're not going to be seeing 100 times, those kind of things. Now, but over long term, I think it will still keep going up. Okay, I think there is a good scenario. Not I say, but according to Michael Saylor and quite many of these very famous Bitcoin people, their prediction is that by 2050, that kind of numbers, you will be looking at one Bitcoin at, say, 3 million USD, that kind of thing, or 5 million USD, that kind of thing. They say one, not I say one. They say one. Okay. Now, I want to highlight two things that I think that will affect. Number one, the adoption of Bitcoin when it comes to high net worth or ultra high net worth individual for the clients of all the bigger firms, right? Like BlackRock, JP Morgan, all these, they are starting to offer Bitcoin as one of the assets for their high net worth customer. So they're starting to push it. In fact, that's the reason why they came out with this report. Let's just put it that way. Right? They really went full on, right? Even talking about US debt, everything all. That's why people are losing confidence and starting to put money in different kind of currency, including Bitcoin. And they're promoting a lot about like non-government censure, all these kind of things. Yeah, because the rich people need to make sure that their money is protected. I think there's the undertone there, in my opinion. Yeah. Now, so that will be one part of the adoption. And these kind of people, when they adopt, you're talking about big money. You're not talking about me and you who like have 3,000, 5,000, 100,000. You're talking about people who move a little finger is a few million, right? Yeah, that kind of people. Yeah, and yes, we know that there are many people who move a little finger, few million, haven't adopted Bitcoin yet.
Yep.
Let's just put it that way.
Many of them.
Yeah, and for them it's okay. They don't have to catch that first 500 times.
Yep.
Because they are already very rich. Yeah. Only people like you and me want to catch the first 500 times,
Yep.
Yeah, they don't need to. They're already very rich. So they have the 20% every year is good enough. Whereas their 20% is probably more than your 500 times already. Right? You think about it, right?
Correct.
The first batch of people who actually bought it probably $1 and today they bought 1,000 of them. Maybe today they have 100 million or 500 million, right? 500 million for them is a flick of a flick up, right? Like for example, Tan Sri Vincent Tan, those kind of people, right? Tada already, right? Yeah. So anyway, that's one. Nothing exciting. But I think the next thing that I want to talk about, building apps on Bitcoin blockchain.
This is something new, right? It is just starting only.
The interesting thing is, after Bitcoin developed, before the blockchain was fully utilized, Ethereum came up
Mm.
and it offered a lot more like smart contract, this and that, everything all.
Mm.
And people started building on those. Very, very, very little built on blockchain of Bitcoin
Mm.
because it's so inflexible.
Mm.
But what happened is that over that last period of gold rush, a lot of people also kind of abused that smart contract and created a lot of issue.
Yep.
Right? And suddenly there is a surge of interest right now, right? To build dApps
Mhm.
on blockchain of Bitcoin.
Mm.
What this means is that developer have to pay via Bitcoin.
Mm.
To pay via Bitcoin means there's going to be more adoption.
Mm.
Now, in my opinion, when people are asking this question, right, when is Bitcoin ever going to be a currency adopted? I think that's when it's going to start.
Yeah. Imagine all your e-commerce is on that Bitcoin blockchain, right?
Yes. Then
Wow.
really one Satoshi makes sense suddenly.
Mm.
Right? Yeah. So I think, now I'm not saying that because of that there's going to be a price volatility. That's not what I mean.
Mm.
Will it drive a new price volatility? I'm not sure. I really am not sure.
Mm.
But I'm saying that is another area that will kick in and create an opportunity, a window for people to make money, just like Solana, all those kind of things, that period of time.
Mm.
Will it take off? I do not know. But it looks like the voices is getting stronger and stronger. And that is something that in the Bitcoin conference, they are going to be talking quite a lot about as well.
Ah.
Yeah. So for those of you who are interested to join that particular conference, to actually get to know people and also understand what are the opportunities in building dApps on the Bitcoin blockchain, or even get to know more, crypto people,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead. I would suggest you go. I think it's worth paying that 100 over ringgit for that ticket. I mean, how often can you pay the 100 over? And the chances are, I'm not saying, many of the people are there are going to be rather early adopters.
Mm.
It's not going to be kitschy play, and yeah. So you will get to learn a lot of things. And as we know, Bitcoin guys are usually more legit lah.
Mm.
They very very sian, very boring. In fact, it's the like Bitcoin is old school. Huh. You're not even part of that ecosystem, to a certain extent kind. So I would encourage you guys to go and check it out. Go and join that. Yeah. Nonetheless, Frankie,
Right.
anything else that you want to talk about when it comes to Bitcoin for people to invest or help people to understand? If not, let's get people to ask us questions.
I think let's go straight into the question because I'm looking at this, right? I want to take this question first. By Melvin. Melvin said last mined Bitcoin will be in 2040. No, that's not the case. For a very simple mathematical reason. If you take one number, right, any number, you divide by 2, halving, right? You divide by 2. No matter how many times you divide by 2, right, this number will never reach 0. It will never reach 0. Even if it is 1 Satoshi already, right? 1 Satoshi divided by 2, it's half Satoshi. It's not 0 yet, right? And this half Satoshi will become a quarter Satoshi and blah, 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 blah. So meaning to say mining will continue infinitely. So now the question would be, when it really goes down to a quarter of Satoshi, how much does Bitcoin need to be to make sense for people to continue mining? It needs to be a certain amount of value. If not, then everybody will just give up and say, hey, I still need to pay for electricity to mine and all that, then I might as well not do it. So when we reach that period, right, 1 Satoshi has to worth something meaningful, if you think about it that way. So if you have that kind of vision to see far enough, so that's where you can look at.
I'm just trying to think about 1 Satoshi as 10 cents.
I calculated before, if 1 Satoshi is 1 cent, 1 Bitcoin is 1 million. If 1 Satoshi is 1 cent.
If one Satoshi is 1 cent.
Yeah. One
Yeah.
Bitcoin is 1 million.
Yeah. So if you say 10 cent, that is 10 million. Yeah.
Correct.
Very
correct.
interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. Now, I think there's one question here. Someone asked about how about Rolex. I know it's a joke, but this is what I want to say, right? Along the way, after couple of years, I wouldn't say that I'm that old, but I came to this period where I start to realize that as much as we can say that, sometimes we have this excuse when you buy watch is for investment.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe after I talk to quite many, the very rich one, I start to notice that they don't talk this kind of things.
They buy really because they like the watch.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like for example, right? I was with Mr. Loy, right?
Mm,
He and his wife are both wearing very expensive Pateks.
mm,
They don't talk about it as an investment.
mm,
It's just I like the watch. Yeah. Then
Mm.
I start to feel, right, that maybe we are poor. That's why for us we need
to
that
justify.
excuse. We need to justify that when I buy a Rolex, it's a good investment,
Mm,
Yeah. But for people who are really rich, they don't think like that.
mm,
Yeah. So I start to, feel that way lah.
Mm.
Yeah. So anyway,
do you think Bitcoin will be official enough to be included in the family office asset class? Family office is the easiest further to start adopting because you don't have fancy regulation around it. You just need the family to agree and say, okay lah, let's just put Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Jalan. Right.
Yeah.
So they will be one of the earlier high net worth adopters, I would
I
say.
think already.
Yeah, already.
I think it's
Yeah,
already. Yeah.
Already I seen a few family offices put Bitcoin as one of their assets.
That's right. I think in fact the other day I heard this story about a friend's friend lah, right? He first suggested to the family that they want to put that amount into Bitcoin. And the family laughed at him. Ultimately, they invested in some other things.
Mm,
I think invested in glove stock or something like that,
mm,
right? And they lost significant.
mm.
Then in the end, now they listen to him because Bitcoin actually went up, right?
Mm.
Significantly. No. The other one, James Harvey asked, there's this one question. He asked, Bitcoin at 3 million, sell house, take margin loan, borrow money from a loan, go all in BTC. My suggestion is don't do that.
Mm.
Yeah, don't do that. Please don't do this kind of nonsense, okay? Please don't do this kind of nonsense.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, someone also asked me about ARK Invest. I don't know where is it already. Yeah, but someone said that, hey, how's your investment in ARK Invest? I don't have ARK Invest. Cause if I'm not wrong, if I can recall correctly, I already cut loss in 2022.
Mm.
Yeah.
This is the Katie Wood one, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, you want to say that she's wrong? She's not wrong, huh? You think about it? Yeah, she's just too early.
Too early.
Hey, right. You think about it.
Let
right?
me check and see how
Yeah,
much
but,
is
but
up.
still not very good now. Yeah, I think people kind of like lose confidence. Yeah.
Right.
But nonetheless, I cut loss. But what I did was that why is because I don't think I wanted all the risk in all her things. You get what I mean? In her ETF. But I still wanted that few company. So I redistribute everything into more concentrated
So you
in
buy
the
that.
individual stock.
Oh.
So I already had the holding of those individual, but I reconcentrate into those individual,
Mm.
and then the remaining also I went more into Bitcoin.
Ah.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I thought to myself like everything is down right now. Something is gonna be very exciting when it goes up. What will it be, right? Because everything also down by 30
Mm.
to 50 So instead of waiting for it to go up and then up by another 30, might as well go for something that's more exciting.
Yep.
Yeah, this is how I see it.
Yep. Might as
So-
well, right? If you
yeah.
already know your asset class well enough, might as well just go direct.
That's right. So that's what I did, and I rearranged my portfolio in 2022. And I actually allocated into Meta,
Mm.
Tesla, Nvidia.
Mm.
Uh,
Or the Magnificent Seven stock. Lah.
Yes. Basically,
Yeah.
I went back into that. My
Okay.
only biggest regret is I didn't put more into Nvidia.
Mm.
And actually, after it doubled, I think I wrote an article about it on my newsletter the other day.
Mhm.
Yeah. After the Chat GPT thing,
Mm.
it went so high, I withdrew half or so.
Yep.
Yeah. So you can go and check out. I don't know whether is it on Archive, that particular paper. Yeah, I talked about it, like how I feel about it, and how did I make the decision. that point before even there was ChatGPT, because I invested in it in 2020. Yeah. So I walked through my idea about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can sign up for our newsletter.
Yep. Just go
Yeah.
to mrmoneystv.com and then something will pop up and then you just need to fill in your particulars and then tomorrow my newsletter will be out. I'll be talking about exactly the China lowering down the RRR and then how it is going to stimulate the economy. Now, just now you talk about 2020, you have been investing in all this kind of stuff, right? I still recall during that time, a lot of people asked about ARK Invest, right? So let's look at ARK Invest performance, 5 years performance. It is only up by 9.1%. 9.1% after 5 years. You might as well, like you say, you go NVIDIA and all that, you double, triple the returns already.
Yeah, that's right.
And on a year-to-date basis, in fact, they are in red. They are down by 9.5%.
That's right.
ARK Invest.
Yeah. So for those of you who do not know what's my logic, right? Let me just share with you at the point. For me, it's very simple. Like I explained just now, right? You think about the market cycle, right? Whenever a market crash, it will always be led by a few stocks, and then the rest of the stock will follow on and crash together. But all this happened in a very, very, very short period of time, right? But when the market start going up, usually it will be led by also a few stocks, and then the rest will slowly follow. But this process usually is way longer.
Yes.
Other stock will only go up by the time the first few stock went up become so overvalued. Then you're gonna start talking about, oh, it's so overvalued right now, let's buy value stocks. That's how it works. And the cycle is always the same every time.
Yes.
Right? So if you already crash together, what's the best thing to do?
Buy the big one first.
Buy the big one first. Don't wait, because you already know your asset class. Okay, but this doesn't apply to people who doesn't understand how to invest. Yeah, if you're the kind of ETF just slowly wait kind of person, then you go for that. But if you're not, then you understand individual stock, you dare to buy, then only you do these kind of things. Right? And so that's what I did. Yeah. So I was pretty happy. My Nvidia went 10x.
Oh, nice.
My worst, do you know, from 2020 until today, right? My US portfolio, my worst return, guess what's the number?
You shared before, 70% or something like that.
No. Okay, last week I checked. Close to 60%. That's my worst performing one. Yeah, and that was Tesla. Yeah, so for those of you who are wondering, like, Tesla habis they'll die now. My answer to you is that to a certain extent, I don't really care. Because at this point, the way that it's died also, I got 50%.
Right.
Yeah, but I may rearrange it. That's what I may do. Right? So someone talking about AI bubble.
AI bubble will burst in 2026.
I do not know. That's a prediction, but later I'll share with you all something. But WJ Lee say, given Bitcoin having any thoughts on strategy next year, continue DCA, take profit, or hodl? What are your thoughts about it?
I think halving cycle we're talking about 4 years from now already. So it is a very long time in the world of cryptocurrency. So I think we don't need to look at it right now. If you are looking at it as a catalyst. But next year's strategy, I think, still look at US government, still look at what the Fed wants to do, look at what China wants to do. I think that would be more relevant for 2025. So DCA or not, that one depends on your strategy already. Yeah, if you don't know where's the direction and you want to have exposure to it, then DCA is one of the most classic ways for you to start investing.
Yeah. Now, if you ask me, DCA is the way to go. I'm not as good as Frankie when it comes to trading, simply because I think one part of it, he's much more alert with the market. I'm not very alert, man. I will like 1-2 weeks don't check my things.
Right.
So for people like me, it's better just to DCA just DCA throughout, right? And after 2-3 years of just heavily DCAing, I'm always winning. So yeah, I may miss out those exciting 80% suddenly, but it's okay. I'm happy enough to live with 50% return, right? Yeah. Now, next thing, for a low net worth individual like us, how many percent of your investment would you allocate for crypto? Frankie, what are your thoughts?
Just now you gave a very good example, right? If you're a multi-millionaire, you don't need to aim for that 500x, 1000x. You just need 2x, and then that absolute amount is big enough
Yeah,
already.
100 million become 200 million. Okay.
Yeah, 2 times, but the amount is big.
Yeah.
Now, when you have very small amount of money, then you cannot do that, right? If you only have 1,000, you double the money, it only becomes 2,000.
It's not life-changing money.
Correct. So what you need is that multiple times of return. So low net worth people like us, depending on your risk appetite, you should be more concentrated, because that concentration will give you that ability to go further. Right? If you're too diversified, then it's too diluted. This one move 10%, this one move 3%, like that. Then everything on average you just move by a little bit. Yeah. So if you don't have too much money to invest, one strategy to look at it depend on your risk appetite again. Then you can have a more concentrated portfolio.
Okay. So when someone is talking about how many percent to allocate, right? I think the answer to be safe is always diversify your investment and the amount that you can afford to lose. So none of this is investment advice again. But maybe I just want to share with you guys something that we always talk about. Fund managers will always diversify their investment, and their position is always like 1-2%, 1-2%, 1-2%, that kind of number, right? But if you were to ask many fund managers honestly deep down how they would invest if no one is putting a regulation around them, I think they will invest in lesser stock than they are investing in their proper portfolio.
That is true.
Yeah.
And if you look at top performing fund managers, you see their portfolio is more concentrated also.
Yep. If you think about Warren Buffett, it's very concentrated. Yeah. It's not that many companies. Now, when we are saying concentrated, it doesn't mean you invest in only one thing. Yeah. It means like maybe less than 10, right?
Yep.
Or 10, right? Now, but be very careful with the thought of like you need a higher multiple return. Although that's real, but when you start chasing for it, that's when it becomes something called financial nihilism, which means that since I lose 1,000, but if I can make 1 million. That's why people go and gamble. Then there's no different from going to a casino. So be very careful about that mindset as well. Yeah. So that's what I have to share with you guys lah. Yeah. So, but I have to also say that to a certain extent, when you invest, you can't avoid risk, especially if you want it slightly faster. It's always a give and take. So if you have the time, you don't mind to be slower, then do it slow. If you want it to be fast, you have to take risk. But it also means that you can lose that money. So it is always the balance between these two. And for everyone, you have your own answer. It is not the same as anyone. Because if you were to ask someone like me, I freaking start a business when I have a baby along the way. Right? So my risk level will never be suitable for you. Right? Frankie, right?
Yeah.
Also has a very different risk profile.
Correct.
So don't follow, but hear what we have to say. And then after you listen to it, evaluate for yourself what works. You can talk to someone so that someone can be a sounding board, but ultimately you have to make the decision.
Yes. Very good stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, at the end of the day, yeah, you have any last things to share with the audience? If not, let us just end by this one thing. If there is a number that you can put to Bitcoin by the end of next year.
Oh, and next year, not this year. Well, a bit harder.
End of this year. End of
this year easier.
What do you think that number will be? Let's do it in such a way where the highest and lowest possibility scenario. Right?
Okay.
But again, this is not investment advice. It's just what we think the risk level are.
Okay. By the end of the year, for me, it will try to cross 100,000. That's my bullish assumption. cost 100,000, whether 110, 120, I don't care. The higher, the better, lah, right? But I think it will try to cross that level. That is very important for me. But how low can it go? I don't think it in my opinion, I don't think it will be lower than now.
Oh.
So maybe 65, 70 like that. That's the low. The high would be 100 and over lah.
Right. I hope the range will be in between 60 to 100.
Oh.
Yeah. Actually, not too far.
Yeah, not too far. Quite easy.
We didn't talk before that.
Correct.
It's
this is not stage one.
It's not station. Literally, it's like last minute I asked him, right? And I know he don't like this kind of question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we usually try to be a bit more careful. So we're just going to end with one thing again. Once again, none of this investment advice. Do not invest, right? Go and do your own research. Yeah.
Yep.
Invest only at your own risk level. And for those of you who are not very active in the market, always remember DCA. DCA is probably the best way to go. Yeah, and always diversify investment, and remember, be prepared to lose your money if you invest.
Correct.
Yeah,
very important.
Yeah. So that's all that we have to say. Nonetheless, do remember on this coming Saturday we have a free webinar called Maximize Your Insurance. Again, sudden shift into that. Yeah. I have to say that this is one of those assets that can save your life. Yeah, it can save your life. Just to share with you, today I was in a conference. Someone asked this very simple question, right? Hey, should I still have insurance when my company already give me a good enough insurance? Ain't I wasting money? Now, so if you want to get that kind of question answer, right, come and join us this Saturday. You see that there's a QR code there. Yeah, go and scan that QR code so that you can get yourself a free ticket. Thank you very much. We will see you next week.
Good night.